Mofo.
It's the devil!
Woo! All right. Party people in the place to be, Vandals and Jedi Masters like our friend Adrian. Adrian, the Jedi Master here. He's going to tell us all about the Force.
It's a fake beard.
Yeah, it's wonderful, man. Like, I'm digging it, dude. You should totally get a Disney Plus gig now, man.
Right? I look like I should have like a 24-year-old wife.
Go DiCaprio.
You're going to have to put on some weight, though, Adrian.
Oh, my God. I love how DiCaprio treats his women like expired milk. Okay?
I think that's even being generous. It goes sour pretty fast.
Oh, shit.
Yep. All right.
We're back with a new Pink Distortion, and this is going to be a pretty fun one. We're going to be talking about a kind of divisive topic, as we learned when we tried to ask some of our colleagues if they wanted to be in on this episode. We're going to be talking about live albums, which I didn't know were so contentious, but like it seems a lot of people don't like these things, and we're going to maybe talk a little bit about that, but we're going to talk about some of our favorites. But before that, like, man, today was actually a pretty cool day for music. Like, the new Drain album came out, which I rocked out to. I thought was pretty cool. There's a new Hives song, which I really liked the Hives when they came out, when that whole like throwback era was happening. So it's cool to hear them still really rocking good. I mean, if you like the Hives, you'll like their new stuff. So
love the Hives.
Some kind of cool stuff with music. Did you guys listen to anything cool that wasn't like on the list today or recently?
Did I have like just a man, Fred's in the house. What up, Fred? Cookie's in the house. How's it going, Cookie? Yeah, man. I just have a playlist that I've been putting together to kind of to get a feel for stuff for writing songs and vocals and shit for the bands. So I just have like a little playlist I listen to on repeat of a bunch of bands I like. So that's all I've been listening to. I have some Drain on there. I have Initiate. I have a little bit of Bad Brains. What else do I have on there? Anyway, it's a list I throw on every once in a while during the week while I'm working to listen to. So, yeah.
There's a band called Sparks. You guys remember? You know that duo Sparks from like the '70s? They're still around.
Okay.
So, wow. They're kind of a quirky band. They're almost like the original version of Ween. And so they got a new song called "The Girl's Crying in Her Latte," and the video's fantastic. So it's like the two brothers in the background. They're older guys, right? And the foreground is Kate Blanchett, and she's in this yellow suit, and she's just dancing. Oh my god! Fuck, the video's fantastic, and like just the songs equally as good.
Yeah, I remember you posting that on Instagram. I remember seeing that. Yeah.
And also the band I came across called Crows. Just Crows, and an album called Beware Believers. Just crunchy.
Nice.
There you go.
Oh, Randy says the new Rancid tune is out.
I just heard it too. Yeah, it's good. It's quick, man. It's only like a 2-minute song or something like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like the 2000 album, man. Like
Tim Armstrong looks like he's been in prison for like 20 years. Okay.
I saw that episode of Twilight Zone he was on with the shaved head and the beard, the big bushy beard. I was like, holy shit!
He
look big time.
He got prison hard, man, and like he wasn't a receiver. Let's put it that way, right? Like
he was the top. I gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
What else did? Yeah, I got my tickets for the concert, for the Drain concert last week. They came in the mail. So that's I think it's called Outbreak. It's a tour. You got Drain, Drug Church, Gel, Magnitude, and Combust. that's the lineup, and my tickets came in last week, so
You
I'm
are
all
not
set for
allowed to
that.
have more than one word in your band name to be on that tour.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Word name tour.
And I've got on the 17th, I've got the off concert coming up
Oh, nice.
with
Nice.
Zulu. Yeah, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, Zulu is amazing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm jealous. I'd love to see them. Just fucking brutal band. That new album of theirs is so good.
Yeah, I have it. I bought it a couple weeks ago at the little record shop where I go near my place. He ordered it because I was like, oh, I was telling him about him, and he listened to it. The record shop owner, he's like, fuck, I love this. So he ordered two, one for himself and one for the store. And I was like, oh, I don't have it yet. So I was like, I'll give it a month, and if no one picks it up, I'll buy it. So no one picked it up, so I ended up buying it.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Which is all right. I probably would have bought it eventually anyways. So, yeah. But I saw it was selling out on a lot of the sites online, so I was like, yeah, I won't give it more than a month. I'll pick it up, get the first pressing, and yeah.
It's good,
Yeah.
man. It jams hard.
Mm.
So fellas, live records, huh? Or go ahead, Joey.
Yeah. Did you want to do a check-in for anything this before we start, or like aside from music stuff? Did you watch anything or read anything, or?
I rented the two movies, but I haven't watched them yet. I was going to watch them tonight. I was going to watch The Pope's Exorcist with my favorite actor, Russell Crowe, with this wonderful accent. I can't wait to see it. And then I got Renfield like all queued up.
Oh, Renfield. Yeah.
So
I just watched
I'll
that.
have a lot to talk about, like probably Tuesday, but yeah.
Oh, fuck, Renfield, man. Fucking Cage does like he runs the gamut on all the characters he's ever played, I think, while playing that character. While playing Dracula.
I'm looking forward to one day when Cage does like a Steven Seagal biopic. I know that's coming, right? With like him starring Steven Seagal visiting Russia, right? That would be fantastic, right? And giving like his his judo classes. You ever see the clips from that?
Yeah, where the people run at him and he just kind of like swats them and they fly away.
Like it looks like a Christopher Guest movie. It's so fucking awesome, right? He's not even moving, right? He might be holding a sandwich. It's fantastic.
He kind of like swats them, like with his.
Yeah. Oh fuck!
I think what else has came out? Shows Ted Lasso. We were watching that. We're all caught up on that.
I haven't even started yet. So
No.
I gotta get Apple.
We started watching Sweet Tooth.
Oh, season 2. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Came out last week or the week before, I think.
Yeah.
Not too long ago.
Really?
So, yeah.
They need to advertise that shit. Like, Netflix is so bad at advertising their stuff, man. Like, I
know. And season 1 was so good, too.
So that's out, Sweet Tooth. So, yeah.
I started watching Beef.
Okay. Yeah, I still need to watch that. That looks good.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah,
Really
it was pretty good. I liked it.
Off guard. I'm not done yet, but it's it was pretty entertaining. I had no idea what it was going into it. So, and then I saw Nope finally.
Oh yeah,
what a piece of shit movie that was.
I love it. I love that
kidding
movie. Yeah, I love that movie.
What did you do for the first 80 minutes?
Watched it.
What did you do? Tell me what happened the first 80 minutes, and then change my mind. Fuck, that movie was terrible, man. Nothing was going on.
I love that movie.
Honestly, the first 80 minutes should have been someone just taking a shit and like reading the paper. It was like the equivalent to that because nothing was happening. I didn't understand it.
The alien was taking shits.
Yeah, I mean,
that's how the father dies. The alien took a shit.
Can you imagine dying by an alien shat? Hey.
Yeah, that's what happened, and that's what Nope is about, man. Alien going around shitting pins and coins and yeah.
Well, fuck, they really should have played it up. Oh my god. Just you hear like a grunt from the sky or something. You know what I mean? Fucking hell.
Fucking blood diarrhea. Yep. Nope. It's good. I liked it. I like all his movies. So
I liked Us. And I liked Get Out. But this one just completely just like I said, nothing was happening. Like nothing was happening.
You didn't think it was funny? Like it was, I laughed at like most of the stuff, like with the stuff with him going on with Glenn the cowboy and like them stealing the fake horse and stuff. I thought all that was really really fun.
The kids,
Yeah.
kids come in
And
to
when
try
he
to
fucking
scare him
and he punches that one. I thought that was
in the face. That was hilarious. Yeah. What's Bupkiss? I never heard of that.
I don't know what that is either.
I don't know. Fred, you're gonna have to explain what the Bupkiss is. Is it a movie or a band? I don't know. Anyway, he'll respond. All right. So anything else for people for check-in? So we established Adrian hates Nope, and I liked it. So,
Well, get
so
that
we
out.
can, so I think we have our potential conflict episode maybe in the future, because
yeah.
we're talking about doing conflict episodes where
Yeah.
two guys like it and one guy hates it, and the two guys gang up on the other guy, and it's like
Right. I'll
it
do
makes
right
for
now.
it makes for a good episode for a lot of shit talking. So I think Nope will be a good one. Adrian will be on the
Yeah.
on the
good.
receiving end, and Johnny and I can be the fans.
We're gonna bring this up. Buggy, you two can sit down and you can come up with like explanation of what the fuck the monkey was about. What was the point of the monkey? I'm curious about that. So
It was about how the cowboy guy thought that he could tame wild things and be friends with them when like they're just an animal that's going to act.
what does that
like
have to do with an alien
Well-
taking a shit in the desert?
We'll save it for the episode because
Okay.
Johnny and I are gonna do you Tim Armstrong style.
because you all,
Yeah.
Oh,
All right. So let's get to the topic at hand. Live albums, man. That's going to be our topic this month for the music episode. And I think we might have some disagreements here on that as well. So let's get those. Let's get the
Jordan
gloves
Peele have
on.
a live album I should know about?
So yeah, this is a topic I brought up way back when we first started doing our short episodes with Buzz Bites and all that shit. And I was like, oh, live albums, and then like Fulci's like, fucking, I hate live albums. And then the more people I asked, the more I realized not very many people dig live albums. Like even the guy at the record shop, I brought him I lent him the Idols, one of my picks, live at the Bataclan, and he was like, I don't like it. And he's like I don't like live albums that much. He prefers just regular albums. So it's kind of funny.
Line. Yeah, it's a fine line because like I find for me for a live album, it's like if the band sounds pretty close to what they do in the studio, there's no point to it. Right? It's like, one of my picks, one of my first picks that came to mind I was going to pick was Depeche Mode, the 101 album, right? So I'm like, okay. So I listened to it, and it's like, how the fuck can electronic bands sound good live, right? Or different from the studio? And so I listened to the album, and it's like nothing was unique from their studio fare. Basically, like 101 is more like it's more watching the documentary, the visual, right? Because you want to see how the crowd interacts now. But in terms of a live album, it's just a studio album, really. So it's got to be something really crunchy, really. You got to hear the hissing, you got to hear the crowd. I got to hear a guy arguing with his girlfriend in the back. You know what I mean? Right. And that was a cool thing about back in the day before.
Yeah, one of your picks. Yeah.
The beard is talking now. But you know what I mean? Where it's like, I remember going to like our one local record shop, like in the early 90s, and just buying a bootleg of certain bands, right? Like I used to buy like bootleg CDs of Nirvana, right? In like, some fucking guy's basement, and 9 times out of 10, they're horrible recordings, but you
right off
like,
the PA, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, but you felt like you were there. You know what I mean? Like you hear loud voices and stuff like that. So that to me is a good album. And also too, like when a band goes on a bit of a tangent, you know what I mean? Where they're it's almost like an organic thing live, right? It's like like the Tragically Hip, right? You know how there are times where like the Tragically were like they were a good bar band, right? And so, but you could see in their live performances, right, where it's like they took cue from Gord, and Gord just go on this fucking tangent, right? Like I don't know if you remember the Killer Whale Tank version of New Orleans is Sinking, where he starts talking about, a random story where he's like working in an aquarium kind of thing, right?
I almost put their one of their live albums as one of my honorable mentions, but
I totally forgot about them until now, right?
Yeah.
So I would have had a Lie Between Us, right?
Yeah.
One of the Canadians' greatest treasures that doesn't get a lot of love down here in the States, but if you're an American and you don't know the Tragically Hip, definitely check them out. And like, especially New Orleans is Sinking, that is just a masterpiece of a song. The guitar work on it, incredible.
Joe, do you remember when the Hip first was on Saturday Night Live?
No, I don't remember that.
Fuck, I remember that too. So Dan Aykroyd was the host. And
it was when Dan Aykroyd was on there. Nice.
It was a big build up to it, and it was weird, man. It was like almost like a national holiday. So I think I ended up I was at my my wife's place, girlfriend at the time, and we sat there with her family and watched it like it was the fucking moon landing, right? And then so there's Dan Aykroyd, and he's still in costume from the skit before, and it was funny. Him introducing the Hip was like a proud parent, right? Like he was smiling like a fucking baby with gas, right? And so Gord comes out, and then they do Grace too, and in the song, he puts the Tragically Hip name into the song and just kind of introduces them, and but it was funny because like they're great live, but it was the album after Fully Completely, and Fully Completely was like the big album, right, with Courage and all basically all like the radio hits, and anyway, so it was Day for Night that they took to Saturday Night Live, and everyone's like, but there's no real big hit, nothing catchy, on that album. But anyway, good live band.
Right. They are very good live. Yeah, Live Between Us was the live album I was gonna maybe.
Yeah.
One of the kind
between us. Yeah.
I have with live albums is the mix is always really hard to get down. Like there's some where it almost like they try to clean it up too much, and you can't hear the audio. And
exactly. Yeah.
It sounds terrible. It sounds.
It's the imperfections, though. It's the imperfections that make an album. A live album, right?
And I think maybe that's where a lot of live albums kind of miss the mark because, like Johnny says, you bring it into the studio, the engineer's probably trying to do too much with it.
Yeah.
Trying, like Johnny says, trying to get that sound. Let's get rid of that, but you don't want it to, like you said before, Adrian. You don't want it to sound like something that's produced in an album. You want to be able to hear that echo. You want to be able to hear the type of acoustics the room has, I want
to hear guitar out of tune, right? A little bit of a squeak here, and the drummer just off a bit, right? And just
and certain venues have a certain acoustic style to them, like it gives off a bit of a different sound, and you want to be able to experience that, like you said, like you were there. And I think that's what that's probably the biggest challenge with live albums, because everyone I know loves to go see a live show, loves it. And then when you start talking about live albums, it's like, people just
after the energy that you actually feel while you're there. There's a thing about being at a show where you hear the drum and you feel the goddamn drum in your body. There is just something unnatural or just natural and just beautiful feeling about the music just reverberating through you while you're there.
Yeah, I want to be in an environment, like I know for me, it's like I hate big arena concerts, because I find there are times I'm sitting in the seat and I'll kind of stop, I'll look around, like we look like a bunch of fucking assholes just standing here looking at this, right? So I prefer like the smaller mid-sized venues, like the convention halls, where it's like they got a beer garden in the back, so I could stand way in the back, get hammered with strangers, and just have the music in the background. That to me is like the ideal setting for for a show.
Yeah, like when I went to Quebec to see Mets, that was a 200 cap room. So that was insane. Like such a small room like that to see, like usually they play like probably close to 1,000 cap.
Yeah.
Like they're probably playing those small theaters,
Yeah. We saw the Flaming Lips a few years ago at a place called Ed's here. And Ed's holds maybe, I don't know, fucking 400 or 500 people at the time. And so the Flaming Lips, I can only describe it. They took a stadium tour and shoved it into a club with all like the props and the light. You're just sitting there like, what is? It was just complete visual overload. I'm like, this should be in a stadium right now. Yeah. But no, the atmosphere, the crowd's got to be nuts, right? Like we saw the Dropkick Murphys at this one show, and And I remember also these two guys just started just tossing punches. I'm like, this is fantastic. This is exactly what I was hoping for, right? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So live albums, I'm pretty sure everybody wants to start with this one, right? I mean,
oh, fuck off.
I've got that one in my collection.
Everyone's got that in their collection.
Everybody has it. That was
it's always like an uncle or sister or whatever. They just like they leave it behind when they move out. That's the album that gets abandoned. I basically go to my albums right now. I'm sure I got that somewhere, right?
Yeah, I think I picked it up for like $5 or $10 used. Yeah.
Adrian, you know you love the way.
Hey, listen, you know what? Listen, I shouldn't say much because I got this weird Meatloaf kick the last little while. I don't know. Fuck. So I like the theatrics.
I mean, whatever. I mean, I'm sure you're not the only one. I mean, he sold millions of albums, so
we have our moments, right? We have our moments.
You have plenty of company there, I'm sure.
I don't feel alone.
Maybe not in this room, but out there are some.
We do the whole review with Nope in the background. I was going to crank that out of hell too.
I thought he was great in Fight Club.
Talk over that.
Yeah, with his man tits. Yeah.
Oh shit.
So Joe kind of had strict rules for this, but like I think some of them got a little broken. Like this is kind of supposed to be all one sitting, right? It's supposed to be.
Well, no, I didn't make any rules. It just had to be live albums, right? So even if it was tracks from different venues that they put together on one, it's fine. Like, I mean,
yeah, I'm not a big fan of those.
Me either. I prefer the one venue place, like an actual like live concert. But I mean, whatever. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not a Nazi here, so you know, I'm not like the soup Nazi, you know, where I don't have the power to kick anyone off the show anyway. So, so I guess I'll have to live with whatever you guys bring. Yeah. So you want to get into the albums, or
let's get into it. We're here.
All right. So who, Adrian? You want to go first, or what?
Yeah,
sure. What do you got, Johnny? Throw it up. What are we looking at?
I believe it's one of your honorable mentions. I'm gonna go with this because it'll lead into one of my honorable mentions.
Oh yeah, so it's funny because Jane's Addiction Live in NYC. So because Joe sent me the honorable mentions, and you had another Jane's Addiction album in it, and I completely forgot about this album. And I remember I listened to the shit out of this album, right? And it's one of those things where it's like Jane's Addiction is just like they are meant to be a live band. Like Perry Farrell is just, to me, it's like one of the most underrated like frontmen that he should be talked about more. And this album, just his interaction with the crowd, the noise of the crowd in between, you know what I mean? Like it was just a constant stream. There was no breaks, and so you heard the people yelling, and and Perry would be talking to them, asking them questions, and they would like yell back, and and every song was just beautifully imperfect. Everything was just a bit off, right? But it was just so tight, and I love Jane's Addiction. I think,
and he's the founder of one of probably the biggest festivals from the '90s too, Lollapalooza. Man, he's the founder of that. So
yeah, and then Porno for Pyros as well, right? Like which I love that band to death as well.
I just saw a picture of him, and has he had plastic surgery?
No, probably. I haven't seen him lately, but I'm sure he has. He was always kind of a weird cat, though, right?
Yeah, he had that. But, yeah.
Okay, I guess he did. Because
Jesus Christ!
Last time I saw him, he kind of looked like Andrew Garfield, but like now he looks like
he's eating babies.
He looks like a Ronald guy Joe or something, right?
What is this fucking? This straight off True Blood.
Yeah, true, eh? He's got like between a vampire and feline look to him.
Holy fuck! Wow. Yeah, well, hey, good on him, right? Hey, we all get there, I guess.
One of the aliens from Avatar, like
a regular blue. If he was blue, yeah, just his skin blue.
But anyway, so that album to me, that is, it's not so much like my other picks. There are moments, right? That's where I picked them. But this one, it's a front to back setting, and makes you feel like, I don't know how big the venue is. I never actually looked into it. I don't think it's a big venue because Jane's Addiction wouldn't really have like an arena or anything like that. But they really captured the vibe of a small club, and it really made you feel like it was there, and it wasn't overproduced, and it was just, and the banter between the band as well, and you know, it just was, it felt very personal. You know, some bands just kind of come on and blah 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 and they're gone, right? They maybe say like, you know, thank you or whatever, right? But he was constantly in conversation with the audience, which I think is really important.
Showmanship, I think that's lost with a lot of bands nowadays. There's no showmanship.
No. Yeah, and you know, that's why, you know, people are paying good money, you know, and you know, you want, you know, whatever, right? So you wanted that relationship, and that's just a good, that's kind of a good, good front man. So I highly recommend that album. Like, my God, I can't believe how many times I just like put repeat on it and just let it go over and over and over. Yeah,
straight up. Yeah, leading into mine, like I'm gonna go with Kettle Whistle, which was a thing that they put out. But I really love the live version that they have of Jane Says on this album.
That song is perfect for a live setting.
Yeah. And the metal,
I've always performed that song so beautifully. Perry always goes really wild with it, like doing his weird chanting and stuff before it and stuff, like, and it's all really captured well on this performance, and it's just mixed perfectly. You can hear the crowd just enough. It's like how we're talking about like how a live performance should sound. Like this one just sounds so perfect, and I think that it actually sounds better than the studio version of the song. I really love this particular version of Jane Says. So
yeah, they're better live than in studio. I find
it's my favorite version of that song. That and that metal, like just the acoustics of the metal drum, it just pairs well with his voice, like the echo in his voice with that. It's so good.
And that, you know, that's the one thing too, right? When a drum has an echo to it, right, and then that's where the authenticity really hits, right? Because when they mute the drum and the percussion and you know bass and
that was honorable mention.
If we're gonna start with honorable mentions, then you could throw one of. Did you want to throw it up on? It'll probably show up better if you put it on the screen, Johnny.
For our boy Fulci, he was supposed to be here tonight, but he couldn't because he got too partied out on May the 4th because he loves Star Wars so much. He partied with the Baby Yoda mask on all day.
Do you have that picture on your computer too?
No, I don't have the Baby Yoda picture.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, because Fulci was like, when I brought this subject up, like the live albums, he was kind of like, eh. So, and then all of a sudden I see he buys this album. He's like, oh, I love this album. I thought you said you hated, like, so I was like, you don't hate all live albums. He's like, no, I forgot I like this one. So it's like, oh, cool. So then I was like, so the live topic is back on the table then. Everyone has at least one album they can talk about, right? Yeah, biggest Star Wars fan ever for sure. So I put this one on. He wasn't going to be here, so this was one of my picks in honor of Fulci, and I went out and bought this album as well. And I've got to say, it's a great live album. And after watching a documentary, I think it was Salad Days, and I can't remember who said it, is they described the Bad Brains as your favorite band's favorite band.
Yeah.
So like, and now whenever I listen to it, I always listen for like riffs, sounds, vocals that have influenced other bands, and I'm always picking stuff up all the time when I'm listening to their albums. Like when I was listening to this one, I was like, holy fuck, man, Sublime just pretty much was like, fuck it. I mean, we're just going to become a glorified Bad Brains cover band, right? That's basically what Sublime is, because when you listen to their reggae stuff, it fucking Sublime just completely copied their reggae style and just, you know, their reggae rock, and it's Sublime just completely riffed all their stuff. So I mean, then I was listening to it, you could hear a little bit of like Nirvana, like Kurt Cobain, where he took some stuff from it. Like there's so many different ones. What else was like and not just that, we're talking about Zulu. There's Soul Glow, who like pretty much Bad Brains like built the template for these bands to follow in their footsteps, right? So, I mean, and the more you listen to it, the more you just hear like little things that they did that other bands just took and ran with, and it's so good. And Fulci's favorite like notable songs on this one is his favorite one is House of Suffering. From this album, that's his favorite version, is the live version on this album, which is really good. And they do a really cool, interesting thing. They do a cover song, but it's like a mashup of Day Tripper and She's a Rainbow. They do a mashup of those two songs in one and do like a reggae version with a mashup of the Beatles, Day Tripper, and the Rolling Stones, She's a Rainbow. And it's a fantastic cover. It's one of my favorite songs on the live album. And it's worth going to check it out just for that one song. It's really cool, really well done. Bad Brains, great energy. They always have great energy on all their albums and their music. So definitely check this one out. It's pretty damn good.
That whole 80s era, the whole 80s era really was just like that whole scene was just ripe for live, right? Like Fugazi and I love Bad Brains. Good.
Oh, see, Mel said she didn't have very many live albums she likes, and see, Sublime is one of what is it? Stand By Your Van is one of her favorite live albums.
Yeah, everyone's got at least one. There's
always, that's what I was saying when I brought up, and everyone's like, I was like, come on, everyone has at least one live album that they love.
Someone's out there with a Celine Dion CD live that just
Oof.
Fucking just like
they hide that one like in their car,
right? So
one day they forgot it was in the CD player, and you get in and it's like,
hey, some Tim Armstrong looking guy, eh? Hey, just
dude, what the fuck is this, man? He's like, oh, it's my girlfriend's. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so Bad Brains, man. You can never go wrong with Bad Brains.
All right. For Adrian, next up, I'm going to go with this little bit of...
Holy fuck, yeah. So, again, this is another one I just completely forgot about, and it just kind of hit me. So, Peter Hook and the Light. So, Peter Hook, the bassist for Joy Division, and then for New Order. So, he broke up from New Order years ago, and so he basically started Peter Hook and the Light. So what he does is he basically goes on tour and he plays Joy Division albums and New Order albums in full, right? So basically, he's basically turned into a cover band. So, but what he did with this one is, so he set up in a church in England, and for 3 hours, a little over 3 hours, he played every song Joy Division ever did, start to finish in chronological order. And he was just telling stories in between, and he he's just playing songs that a lot of people just never heard. And then it's almost like if you want to get into Joy Division, right, this to me is the perfect gateway. And it's funny because Peter Hook sounds exactly like Ian Curtis, the Joy Division singer who hung himself. His vocals are almost spot on the same as his, right? So it almost feels like a live Joy Division show. And like I said, he's just so passionate about those, about the Joy Division catalog. And, he tells stories, before and after each song, kind of sets it up, right? And just like, some of the faster numbers, he's just absolutely vicious with. And, and 3 hours goes by fast. It goes extremely fast. And like I said, this is like, if you want to get into Joy Division, this is like the perfect gateway. And then you're at their two albums. But I cannot recommend this album anymore. I played the shit out of this when it came out.
It's like Ian, because like Ian had the mad dance moves, man. I loved his little robot.
Yeah. It's funny, I listened to the first New Order album, Movement, today, and so it was funny because the Movement came out like I think within a year of Ian Curtis's death or just whatever, and it sounds like a Joy Division album, but with like sprinkles of a little bit of happiness to it. And so Peter Hook did the lead-off track on it, and it was just like it sounded just like Ian Curtis, right? And it was just like really spooky as fuck, right?
Yeah.
And so after that album, then New Order, then all of a sudden kind of then just sort of like
Got
shed all all the smells of Joy Division, and then just became New Order. Got a little bit happier, a little bit more synth in that, but yeah. I love the whole lore of that band, and just going to New Order thing. That's why I was really pissed off when they had voting for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Joy Division was finally on there. They fucking lost out to like Sheryl Crow. I'm just like, so
hey, every day's a winding road, Adrian.
Apparently it is. Fucking, we all can't live in Las Vegas, but yeah,
I'm gonna go check that out. BBC
it's honestly,
Live.
it's a beautiful tribute album, and it's like the lead off track all the way up to the end where he finishes it off with Level Terrace Apart, which is like Anna says is like the greatest song ever made. I'll take it to my grave, and just his passion. It's just a passion. It's funny because the band members, they criticize him for doing these shows, right? But man, he's doing an absolute service, right? He's basically keeping it alive, and he's bringing on new people onto the scene.
Is this available on streaming service? Like on yeah? Okay, so Spotify.
I got it on
iTunes
Apple,
and all that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So he also released a DVD as well of the show, and so I don't think you can stream it now. Like he had a special like 24-hour streaming of it, and then took it down.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of a new thing that a lot of bands are doing. I don't know if that was inspired because of COVID. Now they sell tickets for all these bands putting on these live performances where you can buy virtual tickets to go watch the show live.
Yeah.
Live stream their shows when they perform at the theater with the crowd, and they live stream it, and you buy there's special tickets you can buy now. I think Melvin's did one. Who else recently I saw? Violent Femmes actually. Randy just put the BBC Live Violent Femmes. Violent Femmes are doing one of those shows where you can buy tickets to live stream their show live as they're performing.
I think
so. That's
fantastic. Yeah. I love that idea. I love that idea because like some people just don't want to be. They want to watch the band and all that, but they don't want to be there, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah.
So it's pretty cool. I just saw that. I think they put an ad out for that just this past week or couple weeks. So
nice.
Yeah. Shout out to Elle. How's it going? Yeah, cool. All right, Johnny, man, what you got?
Next up, I'm going to break the formula a little bit because there's no actual album for this. It's a live DVD, but it's recorded really well. It sounds great, and it's a great set list by Vision of Disorder. Dead in New York. They are a very quintessential New York hardcore band from the mid to late 90s. They kind of ushered in like a almost metalcore-esque style of it, the really kind of floor punchy stuff. I really, really love them as a band, and this is one of their last shows before they broke up the first time. But they were disbanding. They didn't like break up with acrimony or anything like that. They just want to play together anymore. But they kind of came out with this. It was really good, really fast. They played like a lot of good stuff off of all the albums, and it just sounds really good. Like it's really. As far because I don't really like watching live DVDs either, but like this one kind of blew me away. I thought it was really, really good. It's a show in a venue about the size of a warehouse. It probably is like an old warehouse is what it looks like. And it looks like a real fucking hardcore show.
Nice.
Great DVD.
Nice. So when you listen to it, do you get that vibe of it being in a small, like a warehouse type venue? Yeah,
you hear the music off the walls more than you hear from the monitors. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that. It's funny though with so is it's grindcore or is it just like
no? They're straight up. They're like New York hardcore, but like a little more riffy.
Okay.
He screamed a little more metalish than your typical hardcore guy, but they weren't grindy at all. They weren't like grindcore.
Yeah, I have a hard time with those kind of vocals.
Yeah, it's kind of funny for a while, then it's kind of I don't know.
The low like growl, like snarl, like the really low one.
Yeah, I just find I got no patience for it. I just find it's like, oh fuck, you got like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, well, Johnny has a pick later on where they kind of have vocals like that, but the guy really has great range.
Like church burning growl? Is that what we talking about?
Yeah, and like, but he has an amazing voice too, so he really changes it up throughout the album and just song to song. Like, there's a lot of variety in his vocals, which that I can do, but when it's just the same thing all the way through, then I can't do it. But
Yeah.
I gotta agree with Alan Cookie. Like, I like me some ABBA every now and then, man. Like, I'm like, here I go again.
Is it like, if you like ABBA, do you automatically like Ace of Base, or?
I like Ace of Base.
Fuck, you have to, right?
I think so. No,
It's
The illegitimate children of ABBA?
yeah. Hey, all that she wants is another baby.
Fucking road children. That's what that is.
this sounds like the welfare people here. Gotta get them zeros on those checks. Pop them out, baby. Get the bigger check.
You're up next, Joe.
I'm next. All right, I'm next. I'll go with the Idols, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Idols. Yeah. So Idols live at the Bataclan. That's a venue in France, and this vinyl is on hot pink.
Ooh, nice. Let me see. Ooh, nice.
Yeah, hot pink vinyl.
Nice. Oh, the big
They have
A
different
on it,
versions. They have the, I think, orange or yellow, like fluorescent orange or yellow. So I bought this a while back, and this is the album. This got me into this band. I heard one of their songs on Punk Faction while I was driving my wife's car, and I was like, oh, that's not bad. Danny Nedelko song. I was like, I kind of like that. And then I saw I went on Spotify, and I was like, oh, a live album. So I put that on, and man, I think I re-listened to it like 3-4 times in a row. Like, I love this album. Like, there's nothing polished about this fucking album. It's like they recorded it and barely did any work to it at all. Like,
yeah, I listened to that today too. Yeah, and I just like I thought, yeah, these guys aren't fucking around, right?
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
as soon as like press play and that's that, and then stop and package it out the door.
Yeah, and his voice, Joe Talbot, he's got a voice for that kind of.
Oh my lord!
Just
I was surprised at how
gruff and rough, man. Like, I love his voice live. It's fantastic. I've never seen them perform live, but that's next time they come to Montreal. They were at the, what's the big festival here? Anyway, they were playing there, but it was like $100 for one day.
That
and they're pretty much they're pretty much the only band I wanted to see there. So I was like, I'm not paying $100 to go see that. So
yeah, no, great band. You ever what's the other one? Slaves. No.
One of their albums, you mean, or another band?
No, so I'm just thinking of a comparable band, right?
Okay.
So every time I think of Idols, I think of Slaves.
And the only down part is where he invites a fan up on the stage, and they really can't sing, and I don't even think they knew the lyrics. So that part was kind of cringy a little bit, but everything else is excellent on this. Like, it's got everything I want from a live album. It seems to be more aggressive. It's more raw. I love it. Like, I couldn't ask for a better live album than that. That's one of my favorites. That's one of my. I could listen to this album like 3 times in a row and not get sick of it. So
yeah, I'm gonna tear into that more. I really like. I love the band. The band's great.
Really good. Yeah.
I honestly didn't even know they had a live album until you mentioned it.
Yeah, well, it's pretty much almost. I think they almost played the entirety of their 2 first albums.
Yeah,
is basically what it is. Because this came out right after their first 2 albums, and I think it's almost got every single song.
Yeah,
pretty close to almost every song from their first 2 releases. So
nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really good. I can't recommend that one enough. Yeah.
I know. Now it's time to put Adrian in the hot seat.
Oh, you too.
You motherfuckers. Okay.
Under a Blood Red Sky.
Am I the only one that heard this album?
No, I have it.
Oh, I have. Right next to your Peter Frampton?
Pretty much.
Okay,
I don't know why I have it, but I do.
Okay, so again, too, this is the beard kind of like, making its play now. So, Under Blood Red Sky, it's like, so at the time, this is 1983. So this is just right after the War album came out, with Sunny Bloody Sunday, New Year's Day, and all that. And so they were in Red Rocks, which I believe is in Colorado.
Colorado, yes, sir.
Okay. So they're in Red Rocks, and basically it's like the weather was shit. The opening bands pulled out, and the place was half full. And it was just kind of like a bit of a disaster. Anyway, so it ended up being like, when bands have moments, right? I mean, you two had a moment with Live Aid, but this was like the real moment for me where it's like it was almost like a protest, And so it was just this new wave punk band, it felt at the time. And in a venue where there was, 1,000 people, but he made it like, he was performing like he was in front of 100,000 people. And he was just like, you can see, I know a lot of people don't like Bono, right? Because it was preaching it. There's a lot not to like about him, but you can kind of see this transition of a frontman just taking that next step. You know what I mean? Like he was just, every song was just, like I say, it was a protest song, and he was bringing these Americans, into like this whole vibe of, of all the shit that was going on, back home. And it was just like four guys and just like, no fancy lights, no nothing. It was just a raw show in a fucking crater or whatever that thing is. And man, he made songs that nobody heard at the time into like arena songs, really, at that moment. And it was just like, yeah, it was just a small voice that just got completely amplified. And yeah, that was like for people my age, that was like basically how we kind of sort of got into that band, just that raw whatever.
I actually kind of have a story about this album. Like,
let's hear it. I'm here. I'm in no man's land right now. So yeah, I'm an island on this one.
I was in Colorado. I was in Denver. I'd gone there to, pick up some pharmaceuticals, having a good time, had a couple edibles, and like we went to the Hard Rock Cafe there because my sister likes, the Hard Rock Cafe. She likes to get the t-shirts from all the different ones. So like we go to the one in Denver, and like I mean like nachos or something, and like I look up and there's this huge portrait of Bono because of the Red Rock concert, because he's like a huge icon in Colorado, and he's just looking at me and through his little sunglasses with his cowboy hat on, and I'm high as hell, and I get this people judging me like, oh, look at you eating your fucking nachos with their stars. And as soon as you brought this album up, that's all I could think of, man.
High on nachos. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have much to say about you.
Fuck, dude, you know what? It's funny. It's like I said,
never a big fan, and like I'd listen to their, like, it played enough on the radio that I didn't really need to ever buy any of their albums. So
that song they did for Batman slaps. I'll give him that. Like that's their one song that was dope.
Yeah, it's different for me because, like I said, I grew up like my, my aunt, she was heavy into YouTube before like the Joshua Tree hit, right? Before kind of whatever. So I was kind of exposed to them prior to like the big blow up in America, right? So I always have this like connection to this band, right? Kind of growing up with them. I just kind of stuck with them, right? It's funny. It's like I remember when they uploaded their album on everyone's phones.
Oh yeah, the iPhone thing that pissed everybody off.
Right?
Like downloaded on the phone, right? Like,
everyone's like all pissed. I'm like, thank you, right? Like,
well, you don't have to listen to it. It's not like it's not that much space, right? It's like a couple megabytes, maybe. Like I wouldn't have been pissed. I'd have been like, well, that's nice, I guess.
Yeah,
like,
free music, whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, so for me, like I said, I chose this album because it's a band coming of age. It's like they were basically closing their first phase of their. They're 3 albums deep, and that was basically like an official ending to that phase, and they're entering the next phase with the Unforgettable Fire, and then which eventually became Joshua Tree, and then off they went to the stratosphere. So I love seeing bands just on the cusp of like greatness, or of them taking kind of like the next step, right, or the next evolution in their in their style and their music and their look and whatnot, right? Like with Bowie, right? Like you always just kind of like, I love seeing David Bowie, like, in certain concerts where each tour he went on, it was just different. You know what I mean? Like it was just
The show,
Yeah.
yeah, like he'd have puppets and one and like big glass spiders, and yeah, like he always had like something going on to watch.
He would just change, right? Like he would just, you know what I mean? I remember when Tim Machine came out, and you know, boys out there and they're all in suits, right? And I was just like, fucking hell, you know, I love Tim Machine. God, I love that man so much. And yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Edge. Yeah, Ed.
Oh, there's a story. I forget the name of the band, but like there was a punk band from Berkeley that went on tour with U2, and like the lead singer, he kept calling Edge Ed, and like I had to come up and ask him to stop doing it because it was.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
That's funny, man. Bono's old as fuck now. He looks like this like old crotchety Irish woman. You know?
Sure he does. Like, have
Oh
a
my
little
lord.
bit of that.
Yeah, I watched that David Letterman special on Disney, and oh fuck, man, it was kind of depressing. So,
Hey, I mean, it's a one-way street, man.
we all get there.
Yeah, it's a one-way street. I mean, we're all gonna end up, you know, there at some point. Whose turn is it now?
It's mine.
That's Johnny.
And
Johnny.
I'm gonna have to one up Adrian with the beard, even though he's older than I am. I'm gonna go with
Oh,
I'll spoil a little bit with this one, but this is something I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
Folsom Prison by Johnny Cash. Really great live show. Some of his greats there. I really love the version of Cocaine Blues he does. He does Green Green Grass at Home. Lots of really funny interactions with him and the prisoners. You know, it's like it's an iconic thing because like I think it was the first one that was actually ever done like at like a weird venue like that, like a prison. So
yeah. I love that album. I fucking love Johnny Cash.
Yeah, he was a character. So like anything you can kind of catch him, like even performing it all on, like check it out because he's always like a good time. Like he always seemed to really be enjoying himself.
Yeah, and just like you're talking about the interaction, right? Like, you know, when he kind of got to certain lines in certain songs, like, you know, I shot at Manarino just to watch him die, and these like convicts just cheering, you know what I mean? Like they're just like every song that has every lyric that has to do with a crime, you know, you just see the passion being drummed up by the audience, right? You know, like he was almost one of them. Yeah,
it was like a special show for them because he really did kind of do more of his criminal songs than like his ballads or his religious music. So,
yeah, you know what? You talk about chameleons, man. That guy, like, I mean, he just the gospel stuff to like, you know, straight up country stuff to like, you know, almost borderline rock and fuck man, that guy was amazing.
Yeah, some of his criminal songs were more like a hardcore than the rock songs that were out there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And was this like one of the first live albums recorded from a prison? Like, is this?
I think it was. I think it actually was. Yeah, he had to convince the I think it was RCA to do it, right? Because the label was fighting it, but he somehow. I'm surprised. You know, I'm really surprised that they actually allowed that. You know, I'm surprised that the penal system allowed that. You know, because you got to think about the safety as well, right? Because the band's there. There's no barricade. You know, and he had his wife with him, like June was there.
Yeah, she came out, did a few songs, and read.
Yeah, so it just that's really like I'm really surprised by that. You know what I mean? That the label would put their, you know, one of their star artists basically at risk like that. So that was pretty ballsy on everyone's part, and it's amazing how the crowd, you know, of these convicts just, you know, behaved and really just you know, took it in.
Like kids at church, kind of, you know what I mean? They just the performance. They didn't act out or anything.
It fucking gets your attention too. Live from Folsom Prison. Yeah. Like this is a live album performed in prison. Imagine back in the day you're reading this and it's like, Jesus Christ! I'm sure people picked it up just out of curiosity, right? Yeah. Like genius. Yeah. Fuck is genius.
I couldn't imagine now. Imagine now. You know. So yeah, I can't imagine like, you know, Adele live from like, you know, some women's prison. You know what I mean?
You watch next month. She's gonna be doing it. Maybe the Scissor Sisters will go and do one live at the.
The poster just writes itself.
Yeah. Are they even a band anymore?
Scissor Sisters?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I have not heard anything from them in like
Yeah.
quite a while. I don't really go my way, but usually
Yeah.
pop up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I dated a girl a while back that was into them. That's the only reason why I know of them.
She's a big Scissor Sisters fan.
She was. She was
really?
a huge Scissor Sisters fan. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, okay. Yeah, she was into all kinds of different stuff. Like, I started listening to the La Tigra because of her.
Oh God, I love La Tigra. I love
Yeah,
La Tigra.
yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some.
Yeah.
They have some good jams. Yeah.
Oh,
so.
fucking rights. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
My sister likes Dave Matthews Band, so they're not bad. I like Dave Matthews Band, but
most average girls like Dave Matthews
Toast every now and then. Dave Matthews Band, fucking hell.
Shit, I should have picked a Dave Matthews album. We could have gotten Adrian going. All right, Johnny, which album are you going to put up? Because I guess we'll have time to do all of them, eh?
We're flying.
Which one do you want to do, Joey? Like,
well, I'll follow up with a band that's connected to Idols in a bit of a way. So, well, this one, put up the picture I sent you, because then people will see what it is. Like Mets.
Oh yeah.
Live, and this is an interesting one. Actually, it's colored vinyl, so I've shown it off on the show before, but for people that maybe didn't see, it's black, red, and white vinyl, which is super cool. Basically, this album is they released an album in the middle of COVID called Atlas Vending, or Vending Atlas, and so they couldn't tour or anything. So this was actually a live stream performance that they did at the Toronto Opera House that they recorded, and they released it afterwards on vinyl. And that was, I think, my first.
So there was no crowd there?
No crowd. So it's an interesting live album because it's filmed in an empty theater. Yeah. So it's pretty cool because it happened during COVID, right? So they just went, set up cameras, and performed the entire album from start to finish with two or three extra songs from one or two of their other albums. And but it's great because you get the acoustics from the venue, so the songs have a different sound to them, like than the studio albums. Like Adrian was saying before, like it has to have something different, and it does. Like the vocals are they're not as clean or crisp as like maybe if they were recorded it and done like 4 or 5 takes, or so. It's really clean, performs really well, but it has that certain sound that you only get from playing inside a theater or a venue, which is great. Like this is my favorite album from them.
Nice. I'm curious now. I really want to hear this now.
Yeah, so it's my favorite album from them, and the connection they have with Idols is they actually put out a song. They did a collaboration with Joe Talbot. And they made a song together. Come Here, I think it's called, that they put out last fall. So yeah, so you can go check that out. It's a really good song too with Joe Talbot. It's kick ass. So yeah, Mets live at the Toronto Opera House is fantastic. Like
that's a great concept. It's almost like they're in a practice space, you know.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought it was cool, and it's a way for bands to, they came up with a way to give something to their fans, right? Mm-hmm. And for them to actually do something. And I don't know, I'm assuming it was just a free live stream that people could just go on and they perform like a lot of artists were doing. I think Post Malone did one where he just performed Nirvana songs that he did for free.
I watched that. Did you watch that?
Yeah, I watched that. It was pretty good.
He surprised the hell out of me. Like he was just fucking.
Yeah, he was with.
It was authentic. That's what it was.
Travis Barker was on drums, right?
That's right. Oh, I want to watch. Is this streaming?
Man.
What's that?
I thought you said Travis Barker was on drugs at first. I was like,
wow.
Yeah, and I can't remember who anyway, there's some. I can't remember who the other people were, but
Yeah, I couldn't. I really couldn't get over it. I think he did a version of. I think he did Penny Royalty on that, and it was just like fucking
it was
hell.
it was really good. I thought it was a great performance. Yeah.
For a moment there, I'm thinking, fuck, why does he just get Dave and Chris Novoselic back? Let's do this thing, right? You know what I mean? Like, shit.
Yeah. Like I'm not a Post Malone fan at all. And after watching that, I was like, now I have like the newfound respect for him. You know, like I'm like,
isn't it funny? Live, whatever. It's you know what? So like Prince. I got friends who are like absolutely obsessed with Prince, right? I've never been a Prince fan. My mom loves Prince, right? But I never cared for him. So a few years before he died, I think it was on his last album, he was on SNL. And it's fucking, he just went on this this guitar solo that seemed to go on for fucking 20 minutes. And I was just like sitting there like, oh my God. And I've never really associated Prince as a guitar player, as this is because I'm not a fan, right? I never really whatever. I'm sitting there like that completely like blew my doors off. I was just like absolutely infatuated with that moment. And it's funny, it's just like it's a gateway, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, like sometimes you just got to have a visual interaction with an artist to kind of get them right. With Post Malone, right? I mean, I'm not going to go and buy a Post Malone album, right? You know, but I'm more tolerant of him. You know, I'll listen to him, right? If something comes on, I'll give it a shot now. You know, but yeah,
I don't know. Did they release that? Did they put it out? The Nirvana, the album?
I don't know. No, I don't know if it was an album. I thought they. I thought. It was
I mean, did they put it together and release it as an album afterwards, or is it just a YouTube thing?
There's probably a version of it somewhere where you could listen to it. It's probably on Bandcamp or something at least.
Yeah, but
I mean, you could go find it on YouTube as well. But I was just wondering if they like pressed it and put it out on vinyl and sold it in stores, or
probably.
I mean, you know what? That was the one thing that that was great during the COVID era, was just how creative artists became to get their stuff out there, right? You know, like even SNL, when how they basically when cast members were doing skits, like, you know, from their apartments, you know, and we found like some of them, like, it's funny, some of them actually proved how good of writers they are, you know, through that process, because they didn't have all the props and all the whatever, the hoopla and all that, and they're able to just, you know, put together these little like skits, and holy fuck, like, just, you know, it was creatively, it was an extremely prosperous time for a lot of people, because it put themselves outside of, you know, their confines of, you know, their usual fare. Sorry, I'm just trying to find this Post Malone thing.
Yeah,
that's
so that's an interesting live album that's performed live without an audience. So I thought that was kind of cool. That's why I put it as one of my picks, because I found it kind of interesting as a concept, and it's a product of the pandemic, COVID, the restrictions, and, you know, you could like, it's just really interesting. So, and I love that album too. So I was like, fuck yeah, it makes for good conversation. It's an interesting way to do it, and you know.
All right. Next up, we're gonna go with my favorite pick of Adrian's. Bringing this soul, man, hell yeah,
sweet Jesus. So, you know, it's funny. A friend of mine, Ryan, big music buff as well, and every now and then he'll send me, you know, pick your all-time band, right? Your all, you know, bass player, guitar player, drummer, blah blah blah. Every time, it's funny, I'll change everything else, but my singer is always Otis Redding. You know what I mean? Like, all of whatever Otis Redding with, like, Josh Homme as my guitarist and whatever, right, kind of thing. And, you know, but so this album, like, Otis Redding, fucking hell. I mean, he's got he had the biggest voice, you know, and it was just so pure. The band was, everything about this double album was just big, you know, and his covers of Satisfaction, and, you know, and then his song, you know, Try a Little Tenderness, you know, he plays it, and then it's like, it always turns into like a fucking SNL skit, like an Eddie Murphy skit, right, where he just fucking wouldn't get off the stage, right? You know, you know, and it's like he's like, you know, tenderness, and then he goes away, and then the PA announcer, you know, he's like, Otis Redding, like, Otis Redding, oh, okay, and he comes back on, right? He just like powers out a few more licks, right? fucks off again. He does this for a good 10 minutes. He goes away, comes back. He's doing like these mini encores, right?
Yeah.
And people are just going absolutely bonkers with him. So apart from that, it's just the peaks and valleys that's presented here. Like he'll go from like a big fast number, and he'll just bring the house down, where it's just like all of a sudden you can just kind of hear murmurs, and you just hear his voice, you know what I mean? And then the horns kind of slowly pick up. And like this album is like, it's like waves, it's just this ocean of whatever. And it's just a good vocalist. And just because, back then, like, there isn't much, I don't know how much post-production would be on this, but you just realize what a good singer he was live.
Mm-hmm.
And, you really, really appreciate it. I've never met anyone that hated Otis Redding. Like it's just and then when he gets into like sitting on the dock of the bay, right? You're in tears by the end of it, right? You know what I mean? It's just it's just funny. He'll make you happy, he'll make you sad, he'll make you depressed, he'll bring you out of depression, and
okay. So this album has like Live in London and Live in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to it this morning at work while I was working, and I was like, did you find that the London performance was slightly up-tempo? Like it was performed at a bit of a quicker tempo than the Paris one?
Difference. Yeah. I think he was a little more romantic with the Paris, right? Like he was
I think so. I noticed a bit of a difference in the tempo. Like in London, he seemed more hyped, more excited. And in Paris, it was more like, okay, this is the one if you want to dance with your lady, and the Paris one this is the one if you want to get down with your lady. So like
the London show was for his wife. Paris was for his girlfriend, right?
or the other way around.
Well, it could be, but you know what? But it's like, but it was just the subtlety, and it wasn't like a major shift, right? It was just a subtle change in his tone, and fuck, man, it's just like, honestly, it's
going back. Go ahead, Johnny. Yeah,
I was like really thrilled to see this on the list today. When like Joey sent me your picks, I was like, hell yes, dude.
Yeah, I've listened to this thing a bazillion times. It's just I never get tired of it. I never get tired of him. I love
Another thing that kept popping into my head while I was listening to it, and his vocals and his range and stuff, and I was like, fuck. I wonder if he's like Old Dirty Bastard's biggest influence is Otis Redding, man. Like I couldn't think in like at some parts where he gets really like raw and into it. I'm like, man, it's almost like Old Dirty stole that part of his, and he channeled that. The way he, like, I just kept thinking Old Dirty Bastard was like must have been influenced by Otis Redding in the big time.
Honestly, it's like for anyone that loves like rock, you have to like Otis Redding. You just have to. You really do. So it's just he's like the bad brains of punk. That's what he is to rock for me. Yeah. And I have all the time in the world for him. I really do. Yeah. So
great pick, man.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm not so sure I enjoy like the concept of the album, like London, Paris, and it's almost the same set.
Yeah, that was a bit over the top. I wonder if that was more like a studio decision, right? Like let's just load the shit up, right? Let's cater to two big markets or something, right? So I found it was like, it was cool, but it was kind of redundant, right? Like
was it the identical set list?
Pretty close. Yeah.
That's the only knock I'd give on that. Like, I loved it. It was great. And that's maybe the only small knock I'd have about it is, like, you'd like to have maybe more B-sides or something, like, just maybe, like, just give me a little more variety in the choice of songs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But
great.
There's something in there for everyone. You're gonna find something in there, right?
And earlier, how you're saying like you pick up little voices like in the background, and in Paris, there's that one girl that kept screaming, "Play Treat Me Right," or what was it? Or what was it? I'm like, is he gonna tell her to shut? I was like, I was expecting him to be like, bitch, shut up, you know, like, because every time there's a quiet moment and he's trying to introduce his song, she kept yelling, play this one, and it was always the same song she kept asking for, and you could just hear in the background, and it was like, like I was like, shut the fuck up, you know. The Paris one, if you listen to it again, you can hear that woman in the background. Yeah, it was funny. Yeah,
can you imagine demanding Otis Redding to play something? Oh,
yeah, all the time, every time, like in between when he's trying to set up his song, she's yelling it. It's fun. Yeah.
Honestly, I always feel like that's got to be like a religious experience, seeing, you know, being given the opportunity to see him live, you know, at his peak. I bet you it was just something else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, no, like, sorry, we're gonna have to ask you to leave. You know? This is a live recording. We're recording a live show.
But that's what makes it, you know, a good. Whatever, right? Because you know, it's like
exactly.
The unexpectables, right? The crowd, right? You know,
yeah, and there's one guy that yelled something out, and he got a chuckle out of him too. Yeah, he got a little chuckle out of him in the show. That was pretty good. Those are like little things, like you said, that just make the live album even better. Yeah,
when they almost break character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that.
But showmanship, like he has it, like the way he flawlessly, seamlessly interacts with the crowd while performing his song without it feeling forced or you know, like.
Well, it's like James Brown, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
I probably
James Brown.
James Brown a live album on there as well, right? So, but those like showman.
Yeah, I thought of it as well. James Brown, he's got some pretty good live albums as well. Yeah. All right, Johnny, man, you got another one, don't you?
Yeah, this is my last one, though. This is Colors Live by Between the Buried and Me. They are a progressive death metal band. This is they actually play two sets. They play the whole album of Colors, which is an hour-long album. That's really, really cool. It's absolutely beautiful. But then they come out and they play another set, which is like two songs off of their three albums that came before this, which is kind of cool because their first album, they don't ever play anything off of it live. So the fact that they played Aspirations and I think Naked by the Computer was really cool because they absolutely refuse to play anything off of that album. They don't actually consider it. They kind of think of it as a demo that just got lucky and was released. They kind of don't like people like even listening to it. They're ashamed of it, kind of, which I don't get. It's fucking beautiful, but it's nowhere near as good as their later work. I do see where they're coming from, but at the same time I don't, because it's so much better than most people's like actual albums that you're like, don't be so snobby, guys. But like this album is actually just, I mean, this live thing is just so good, and this band is just incredible live anyways. Like their studio albums are just incredible. They're just these wonderful sci-fi epics, like kind of think of like King Crimson or Yes, but like completely metaled out, and that's what these guys are. But like Joey says, like Tommy has a great range in his vocal quality. He can go from like straight up growls into like pop star singing. Like he really has an incredible voice, and he sings even better live than he does on the studio albums. And yeah, and then the band also plays around with like a lot of different weird musical changes ups. Like they'll go into country music, they'll go into
that's the one song. What's it called? Ants of the Sky.
Yeah,
that's the standout song from when I listened to it this morning. It goes from metal to like almost this like Radiohead-esque kind of song in the middle, and they close it out with like this country style. It's like almost an 8-minute long song, and the different like styles they go through in that one 8-minute song is just that song stood out to me. That's the one I was like, oh whoa, this is kind of. Then I was like, oh, it almost sounds like Radiohead. Then I was like, oh fuck, it's like country. I was like, what the fuck's going on? It was pretty cool.
I like the album cover, actually. Yeah, right. Just sets the vibe.
Well, because it's at a pretty small venue. Like I think it's like a civic hall or something like that. Like I don't know, maybe fits at standing room only, I believe, what it looks like, but like maybe 500 people, something like that size.
Yeah, love that. Nice. I'm
So
gonna check it out.
and
I think,
go ahead.
yeah, I think people that Mr. Bongo too, they might enjoy like a lot of stuff from this live
Yeah,
performance too, because some of the songs have a lot of those similar vibes and stuff. So, I mean, anyone that likes Mr. Bongo, maybe check out Between the Buried and Me, because there's a lot of stuff in there that you'll probably jive on. You know, like this, like you said, Johnny, it's crazy. Like from there's a lot of variety on this, just not just from song to song within each song. It's pretty cool. Mm.
yeah, they're very complex. That they'll be jazzy at some points, then they'll like just be brutal metal, and then like downright pop in some parts. Like, and they even like in their later albums, they explore even further. Like they're an incredible band, and they're great live. I mean, like that's how I found the band. Like. Me and my best friend, we were going to go see the Black Dahlia Murder, and like that was like our favorite band at that time. We fucking loved that, like that really melodic death metal. And we never heard Between the Buried and Me. Like it was Cephalic Carnage, which is a grindcore band, and Into the Moat, which was like a jazz. They were very grindy, but not really like with the shredded wheat vocals. But um, they were very jazzy. But like didn't know Between the Buried and Me were. We looked them up and we saw that they were a Victory Records band. So we figured they were just the eponymous post-hardcore band that were going to be there. But like when they came out and played, like they fucking stole the show for me. I'd never seen a band that sounded like that live, that were just that good live, and I was just floored. And then this was the album that came out after that. And then when I saw this, I was like really stunned that they were able to capture like their essence and like one of their shows live so well. So I think that this is a pretty good example of like what a great live album could be.
And we talked about them on another episode when we were doing the cover songs too, right?
Yeah,
they have a cover album, which is pretty cool as well.
Yeah, and they go all over the place. They do some Soundgarden, and they do Counting Crows. They don't just do metal bands, which I really liked about that cover album.
They did Queen. That's the one that we talked about, the Queen song.
Bicycle Race. Yeah, my favorite Queen song.
Yeah, it was pretty good. They did a great version of that too. Yeah, it was fantastic.
But yeah, boy.
Yeah. All right. So, man, just slap whichever one up there. I don't care. They're right around from the same time, so.
Let's see. Let's go with this one.
All right, Nirvana. I'm not the biggest Nirvana fan, but and in fact, this is the only Nirvana album I own. So,
okay.
From the Muddy Banks of Wishkah. I love this. Like, it has my favorite Nirvana song on it. Is the version of School. The first song on the album that's Nirvana. School. From this album, that version of it is fuck, you can't beat it. And I like this one because it's pretty raw. It doesn't have the polish, you know, and I think their sound definitely lends itself to that. And, you know, like if I were to tell anyone, if one Nirvana album, I'd recommend that one. Maybe it's not everyone's cup of tea. Maybe people don't like this album, but it's my favorite because.
Yeah, I think Nirvana always wanted to, they're always primed to have like really awful production. You know what I mean? Like really scaled back 70s. Like basically, like, Cobain always wanted to like make an album that sounded like, never mind the Bollocks, right? And really, I think the only way to do that is really a live album. And they're like, their live shows, like, their recordings are it's straight up punk. Like, it's just straight up. It's just ugly. It's just, and especially when they played like songs off Bleach, right? Yeah, funny. I remember I picked up a bootleg CD of Live in Reading. And, fucking hell. And it was funny, like right after Nevermind came out, 91, I think, 91. So around 92, there was just like this whole rash of like bootleg Nirvana CDs, and fucking some of them were just god awful, right? It was just muffled, and you know, the whole time you're hearing some guy right next to you, you know, kind of like blabbing into whoever's ear was recording and all that, right? But every once in a while you get a gem, and Live in Reading was a gem. You know, it was like just clear, and so yeah, I liked From the Muddy Banks as well. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's you know, yeah, if you've never gone to Nirvana, why not, right? I mean, that's, you know, that's a good place to start. Live albums are always good for that, right? If you want to introduce yourself to a band, right? Because it always covers.
It's almost like a greatest hits. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly, right? You know, and then you know, yeah, it's kind of cool, like, you know, because then you can then go into listen to the polished version of it, you know.
Yeah. See, when I first started buying vinyls again, I had in my head I was just gonna do live albums. Like, I started researching all the best live albums that that existed, and I started making a list. I had a list of that. Plan went out the window real fast.
Yeah.
Now I buy all kinds of stuff. But originally I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do like live performances, right? That's kind of how I started collecting vinyl again. I was starting to buy like just what was considered the best live performances on recorded live performances, and I started buying my vinyls that way, and then
that's cool.
Then it just went crazy. And
so
I buy
that's
everything.
the only Nirvana album you have?
Yeah.
Yeah, really? That's
yeah.
That's
I have no need. I have no need for any other one.
It's so funny. I remember when oh fucking hell, man! I was like a huge Nirvana head. Oh my god! Like it was funny. The first time I ever heard a Nirvana song was in high school. Battle of the Bands. One of the bands did "Smells Like Teen Spirit." That was the first. I was a grade 10. So this was in 1990. This is before the album came out, and so there's always a group of kids that were in the know, right? Yeah. And so anyway, so this one band played "Smells Like Teen Spirit." I'm like, fucking hell, this song's brilliant, right? And then you know, Nevermind came out, and then right. But all I remember, my biggest memory with Nirvana was when In Utero came out. So I rushed to the HMV, and I picked up the CD, and I was at my girlfriend's place, now wife, and I just remember sitting on the couch, headphones, eyes closed, and I pressed play, and then just that first, like, just the first notes, you know what I mean? Because, you know, like, nothing was streamed, nothing was whatever, right? And this was your first introduction to, you know, to an album, and oh my god, just
but see, Nirvana is the same thing as U2 for me. I don't need to own it because I can just turn the radio on any like rock station, and I know I'm going to hear at least 2 Nirvana songs any given day.
You know, too, and it's funny, my friend as well. I can't remember last time I played a Nirvana album. To be honest, like I think I just sort of like it's kind of now like it was mine for a moment, and then it was just it's gone, right?
Through osmosis, and like it's part of you, like you just can like think
it's
of
there.
it. Right?
You know, every now and then I'll throw in an album just kind of for nostalgia purposes, but it's few and far between that I'll play it because, like, you know, like Joe said, it's on the radio. You know, I'll hear it.
Not like tons of songs, right? It's like
no, and that's the one thing about when a band, you know, has a short, you know, time span, and then what happens after is then the studio or the record label just fucking uses, like they squeeze that rock as much as they can, and you got you know, shows that don't really matter, and you got, you know, songs that they never wanted released, you know, and then you got deluxe albums.
That's why this one was particularly special, right? The Muddy Banks, because it actually had like a unreleased recorded song with Kurt Cobain, right? One, like that. Because I remember this came out when I was in junior high. Like it wasn't super late after he died, but it was post mortem. And
is it? Do you know you're right on that one? Is that what it's? Because I remember there was that unreleased track, "You Know You're Right," which was on the box set, but I don't know if it made it on the Money Banks album.
I thought there was like an unreleased song on it. I thought that was why it was like.
Was it Annie? No.
I remember that was kind of the big hit off of it, Aneurysm.
Yeah, I think that's the one.
That's off the Incesticide.
Is it? Okay, so it's not
which was like Incesticide was basically a collection of B-sides and rarities in that.
I wonder, like, I was listening to it, and the song "Milk It."
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know, like, is that like a leftover Jesus Lizard song that Steve Albany had kicking around? They're like, yeah, you want this? Jesus Lizard was supposed to do it, and you know, like,
who knows, right? They were so heavily influenced by Jesus Lizard, and I think they toured with him, and then you know, and of course they had a big Pixies influence as well. You know, they weren't ashamed of their influences. They wore it. So,
yeah, because Milk It, that's totally sounded like I was listening to it. Every time I listen to it, I'm like, I wonder if Steve had that song for Jesus Lizard, and he's like, oh, we'll do it with Nirvana instead, or you know.
It's funny with Nirvana though. Hey, like I mean, you know, they could have like the radio friendly songs, right? That you know, your wife or whoever listen to, and then they got some songs that are just fucking just murderous. You know, just.
They won the song in a poker game, Joe. That's how they got it.
Yeah, that's probably it. Eh? They're down at Touch and Go Rec, where he records there with Steve, and they're like, "Hey, let's play some high stakes poker." All right. So what? Oh, Adrian's still got probably my.
I got two. I think I got two left.
Yeah, you got two left. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, what do you got, Johnny? Throw it up.
Do you want to go punk rock or trippy?
Let's stick with the punk. Let's stick with the punk.
All right.
Yeah.
Sweet Jesus, 1996. So this was the reunion, the big reunion, right after, you know, decades apart, you know, solo projects, Pill, and all that. This was a big fucking deal.
Them getting Glenn Matlock back was a big deal. I didn't think that dude would ever play.
I thought so. It's the original bass player, right? The original, the guy who could actually play bass, right?
The only actual musician that ever played in the band.
That's what made it, and that's what made it legit to me, right? And my God, it's like so. It's funny. I always have these debates, you know, Clash versus Sex Pistols, right? You know, and I usually kind of most times I'm more Clash, right? But man, it's like you gotta respect the band that's fucking one and done, right? It's like this is it. This is our only album. Top that shit, right? And I don't think anyone's ever topped, you know, never mind the Bullocks, right? So I guess to hear this, like, you know, live, you know, current, you know, it was something else. And Johnny Rotten's voice was just like, you know, his showmanship was coming out.
Spot on. It was spot on.
So really, so the album's, you know, it's good. It's good. You know, I mean, it's basically, if you like Nevermind the Bullocks, you like this, you know, they do good renderings, but it's like this one moment when they get to Pretty Vacant, about 2/3 of the way through. It was just like, I saw the clip too. You know, there's John, you know, all pompous, right? I think he's wearing like a big robe, right? He kind of comes like out like this, right? And it's like he, you know, the riff starts like dun, 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 for whatever, and then he just screams in his whatever. He goes, "Let's start a war," and you just feel this tribalism just kind of just flood you. You just like you want to start throwing punches, and I can just imagine the crowd going fucking bananas because he's like, you know, just that line, and then he just crashes into it, and then eventually, you know, they do the chorus again, and we don't care, and he just stretches the word care for fucking ever. You know what I mean? Like his voice was so strong, and you know, it's just funny how he just took the Pistols took like, you know, a beautiful album of like, you know, like a half hour of just raw. It's almost like an album where you can like hear guys that are learning to play their instruments right in front of you, you know what I mean, from one song to another. But to go from that and then to take that little treasure and to just all of a sudden make it into this big arena thing, you know, it was just and the energy too, just the energy, and just like, you know, because you can tell how excited they were to be back together after all this time, and then to, you know, they're only touring the one album. There's nothing new. There's no new songs. It's just stuff that we've, you know, that if you've heard, you heard, and just, you know, it sounded fresh.
The first, like when I listened to it, those first 3 or 4 songs were just fucking phenomenal. Like I was listening to it, and it wasn't even any of their biggest tunes, and I thought those songs sounded even better than their big hits. Like the first 3 or 4 songs from this album, I was like, damn, but you can see so much. It was clean. Like all these guys, you can see now, like they've been playing for years. So, you know, but it didn't take away from the song for me. It just added.
Yeah, absolutely. It cleans that's honestly the best way I can describe it.
Because it's already like pretty basic, a lot of the stuff. Mm-hmm. So for them to be able to play it to its full potential, you know, like you said, they had the one album. So as a band, they were learning to be a band, right? Mm-hmm. like, and this is after so many years of. So I think like you get
like I think
like a cohesiveness that probably didn't exist as much back then as like you said. Now they're excited to be together. Yeah, they have that energy. It came through in the music, right? Where when they were a band, it was a lot of conflict within the band, and you know, like. But I think this, like, it just shines through that. You know, it's something they wanted to do, and it just came out in the performance and the sound. Like, it was just great.
Bunch of guys that are matured, you know, they live their life, and you know, for them to come back together was a big deal. I remember I followed like the big press announcement, you know, when they got together, and it was funny because John was like, he just kind of all of a sudden, then he just kind of like, you know, he put John Linden aside and he just became Johnny Rotten again. You know what I mean? Like, because he was doing the whole John Linden thing forever, right, with Pill and all that, and he was kind of more, you know, for him a little more kind of settled down, but he just also just brought it back, right? The 70s, whatever, Johnny Rotten. It was an event. It was a privilege, really. That's what it was to watch.
I think there's one part in it too where Johnny's like, "Hey, we're not that bad." Eh? I think even I think the band was surprised themselves of how good they're performing. Yeah, like
I remember that line. Yeah. Fuck
yeah. He's like,
that's whatever. Yeah, it was just like he had
almost like in the zone. Like they realize like we're in it. This is like fucking. Like, it's good. It's a fantastic live album. Like I love it.
Absolutely.
And you got just the right amount of like the fan noise, like the fans screaming and yelling.
Yeah. Well, the interaction too, eh? When he comes out, you know, we're the Pistols, no one loves, whatever. And and just like that whole, just really the whole send off, right? You know, it's just funny. It was almost like, it was almost like a soccer game. You know what I mean? Like just kind of feel like he was just doing chants and I'd
never listened to it before. It was the first time I'd listened to this album and loved it. Like
it's addictive. It's absolutely addictive, and it kind of like. It puts the Pistols ahead of the Clash at the moment for me, right? I'm sure I'll get back to the Clash, but I respect that band so much just because like when you could just do one album and that's all you need to do, right?
And it doesn't tarnish, right? Like
fuck, it doesn't. It just gets better, really, you know. Yeah, and that's just, you know, I guess I'm always glad. It's like, you know, everyone knows the name Sex Pistols and all that, but when have you ever heard a Sex Pistols song on the radio? You know, you'll
never,
right? You know what I mean? So it's just like rare. This like treasure, you know. It's just like, you know, it's never been oversaturated for me. It's never been.
It wasn't really the Sex Pistols, and it wasn't really on the radio. But I remember one time when I was watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, they played Sid Vicious' "My Way."
Was it "My Way"?
Yeah, it was "My Way," which is a really
the Sid Vicious solo. Yeah,
and
that's
the lyrics to that song are just terrible. So yeah, I'm surprised. Like. No wonder that was canceled.
I never got into the Sid Vicious thing. I didn't really care for him, right? I thought the whole thing was just he was a terrible musician, and you know, he was just basically. I mean, he was in the band because of he had that style. Did you watch the Sex Pistols biopic? Fucking hell! I watched the thing about a dozen times. I loved it. I loved it.
One that Danny Boyle did for Hulu.
Yeah.
Oh,
because there's a couple.
What's that?
There's a couple like sex. Well, there's the documentaries, and then there's the.
No, this is the biopic. This is the drama.
Oh yeah, I watched it. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. I loved it. No, I loved it. So I'm fucking might watch it this weekend again. So
I think they made Johnny Rotten seem a little too likable in it, though, man. Like
kind of.
I appreciate him. I respect him for what he's done, but like sometimes I really want to hit him. You know what I mean? He's just like that guy.
I think what I love about them though is like, you know, these are the guys that basically kind of like, you know, fan the whole DIY culture for me, you know, not just in music, but in art and in comics, or, you know what I mean? It's just like, just raw, right? If you could put enough like energy into something, right? You know, even if you're not that talented, you know, you can still pull it off in some kind of fashion, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll always appreciate them, you know, for, you know, encouraging, you know, those less talented, you know, to at least.
They got their place in history. There ain't nobody that can ever take that away from them.
Nope.
No, absolutely not. No.
Either, you know what I mean? Like you can't take anything away from them.
Yeah, I mean, if the Ramones only did the one album, then I'd have the Ramones equal with the Sex Pistols, right? But the Ramones kept going, and I thought later on, as they kept going, it just became a little much, right? It just became so saturated. They basically became like a cartoon to me, right?
Mhm.
I think they always were. Like,
yeah. So I don't know. So yeah.
But I love the Ramones. But yeah, I don't.
Oh, I love the Ramones too. Yeah, absolutely.
They were ever very a serious band. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No, I always remember Joe Strummer in a documentary, punk documentary. He's talking about when the Ramones came to England, and he saw them in London for the first time in like 1970, whatever. And he said they came on, they played for 29 minutes, and you couldn't take a 30th minutes. They just came, they absolutely destroyed, and just fucked off, right?
Yeah.
And I guess there was like no interaction, right? He kind of comes out, he does a countdown,
Yeah.
right? He counts like 1 to 10, and just they kind of rattle off whatever, right? So.
Well, sometimes he comes out and he says, "I'm Joey Ramone, and I got one thing to say," and they're like, "What's that?" And then he like starts the song like that. I've seen instructions like that too.
Yeah.
That was a great album. I think that was my favorite pick of yours. Yeah. Well, I didn't get to listen to the other one because you can't find it, so I don't know. I can't say anything on your next pick.
Yeah, the ultimate live album, we'll say.
I feel so bad for you guys that you're not able to like find this. You can find like snippets here and there, but
yeah,
I really feel bad for you guys. Yeah.
Well,
throw it up.
I got one last one as well.
So, okay, go Joe.
Yeah, we'll do my Portishead. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it's great. I like this album. Like this was back in the live, like when MTV, like Nirvana put out their live album, and then it just started this whole acoustic fucking live performances, and it just exploded. Every band was doing these, and out of all those bands doing all this, I think this album was probably one of the best ones that came out from that whole explosion of putting out like live acoustic kind of. And I mean, I love this album more than any of the albums, like any of the songs you can get off the recorded studio albums. Like this is far superior to me.
Yeah, Portishead, they're such a unique band.
Yeah, and I can just remember watching it because that was like one of those like MTV years where they had the whole thing filmed and it was like a live performance on MTV and stuff. And I just remember her always, constantly, the whole time with the cigarette in her fingers while she's singing, and like never didn't have a cigarette lit while she was performing. And that's the one thing I remember the most out of all that. And to this day, I wonder if she even has a voice left anymore from smoking all those cigarettes. And exactly. I wonder.
Did they not come back like not too long ago, or
I'm not sure. I haven't kept up with them or anything.
I haven't heard about them since like maybe like 98.
So, but this is I love this. Like as just when you want to relax and chill, I throw this on, and I mean it's a good album for just put on in the background and relax.
2008 was their last album.
Oh, they did put out an album in 2008?
Called Third. Yeah, which is their third album, right?
Well, it doesn't matter because the only album you need is this one.
I agree. Yeah. God damn. What? Yeah. I remember when they came out with the Dummy album and Sour Times. Sour Times just fucking hit like a bomb. Like nobody saw that coming. This whole James Bond type, vibe to it, and the chorus and like fucking everyone loved that song. Everybody loved that song. Yeah.
So this is another one of those ones that this is the only album I need from them.
I'm gonna play that. That's a good pick. Well done. Well done.
So if you only own one Portishead album, it's got to be that one. Live at Roseland in New York City. So, all right.
Oh,
Adrian's last pick.
Gentlemen, listen. I feel really bad that you're not able to find this streaming anywhere. It's not on Apple. It's not on Spotify. I think Last FM has it, but you gotta they only got a couple of tracks you can listen to. I don't know. The other ones are locked for some fucking reason. So I feel really awful. So I was telling you guys beforehand. So I local record store just kind of put me onto them, and so I grabbed it from the discount bin, and it is fucking violence. This is pure violence. Like, so it's a 70s garage band from Minnesota, and they kick off this album with In the Midnight Hour. So, and it's just constant. It's like if someone grabs you and just punches you for like 40 minutes and just doesn't let up, you know? It's like, fuck, I don't know. It's like if the Sex Pistols did a cover of the Blues Brothers soundtrack, I guess. That's kind of the way I can describe it. It's like you never, no one's ever heard of this band, right? Like, no one's ever heard of this band, right? But those that have this album know about this album. And you just kind of feel, you could just smell the booze on the floor. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that kind of album. It just totally caught me by surprise, right? Because there's like, you know, some conventional songs, like cover songs that, you know, I wouldn't really care about, but you really cared about it. They're still around too. I think they actually do, like, I think they still tour, you know, a bunch of these old crotchety guys. But this is an absolute treasure. So if you're somehow able to find a copy of the vinyl, I don't even know if you can get it on CD. I have no idea.
And this vinyl is that rare, and you got it for $1?
I got it for a couple of bucks. Yeah. And I'm
gonna go look.
Fuck out of it. Yeah, I have no idea what's worth. I don't know. I'm sure it can't be worth that much, right? Because no one knows who the hell.
I'm curious. I'm really curious now.
I'm curious now too. I'm sure we can find it, but
the Hypesters. Okay, here we go. LP.
I haven't seen anybody talk about it really on YouTube or like. So I mean, like,
you know what? It's funny in this day and age of, like, you know, there's always a crowd for something. You know what I mean? If you look up something, there's always a crowd for something, right? You know, like every band has their group, and there's always like at least like something dedicated to them or whatever. And you can always find their album. You can always listen to it. But fucking these guys are such this weird anomaly that it's just like it's a throwback.
It's selling for, I don't know if this was a reissue, but one version here I have, it's selling between $12 to $40, depending on the. There's another one here. This must be the original release. Oh no, that must be something similar. That one, there's another LP that's selling for, maybe that's the reissue. It's selling anywhere between $10 to $24, depending on the quality.
I strongly encourage you to get a copy however you can. And I want you, just like, honestly, it's like, it caught me off guard. I never heard these guys at the time. And I just like got absolutely infatuated with it. It's like when I was doing work in the basement, I just put it on repeat on the turntable. I just couldn't, it became a friend. You know what I mean? You know how you have background movies and whatever and all that. This is like my background soundtrack for the longest time. And it's just,
on Discogs, it says genre rock, style garage rock.
It's garage rock. It's straight up garage rock. Absolutely. Yeah, it's just, it's pure.
Oh, okay. I found the version you have. That picture you had, is that the exact same cover as yours?
Yeah.
I just saw reissues here. Let's see. Nope, selling for roughly the same thing everywhere. Another LP reissue. And roughly the same thing, dude. Like, so... Yeah. The most expensive one I saw was $40. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's like I just, whatever you got to do, just find the cheapest copy, right? Like I said, it kicks off within the midnight hour, and then just please buy it. Like, actually, like, just please buy it. Like, it's just.
I'm curious now. You got me, so I'm probably gonna go out and order it tonight.
I fucking love this album. I honestly, it's just like, if I had to like be buried with an album knowing I could listen to it, you know, 6 feet under, it would be this one. It'd fucking be this one. Absolutely. I just like, yeah. And, you know, I just love it in between songs. Like the lead singer will kind of just yell something out and then just kind of like they go into it, you know, like this was like a working band. And fucking hell. Yeah. Like you want to take a shower immediately after. Yeah. But again, too, like I said, this is something that's not, it's nowhere. It's nowhere, right? And it's just one of those, like, it's a hidden gem. So you've actually got a hidden gem presented to
That's
you.
that's affordable on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
So
like a lot of these bands that like, oh, they only have the one album and da, but it's affordable. Like I
yeah.
mean, it's not like a lot of these bands. You see some of the vinyls that come out. It's like $100 for
Mhm.
and yeah, so that's
Again,
refreshing to
too,
see.
when you're gonna hear that version of In the Midnight Hour, right? Again, too, it's a song, who gives a fuck, right? But when they do it, and especially if you got headphones on, it's like someone's punching you in both ears, just continuously. It's just this like, yeah, yeah. Like these guys, like I swear to God, I can just imagine them walking on stage with a fucking punch clock, and every guy just punches their card and just go to work. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you just, yeah. So you're watching people actually like earn a living, and yeah, yeah. Please buy it. I'm begging you to buy it. I just like, yeah. I
It has
want
its
to hear somebody else talk about it.
and it seems to be the only album they have. So
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't really find much on it. So,
they did release a CD.
of that.
Yeah, there is a CD of it.
Okay.
7-inch LP.
Yeah, I know there's an EP version of it, so which is kind of pointless, but yeah.
But they do have one version as a CD. They only did one version on CD, so
Yeah. Go forth.
cool.
Go forth, enlighten yourself.
There, that's our episode for live albums, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done.
It was a good. First, I was kind of worried. I was like, ooh, when we were talking about this and we decided to go with it, I was like, people, well, Celine and stuff were originally supposed to be here, but they got tickets to go see Frank Turner and the Interrupters tonight, so they had a show to go to, so they couldn't be here tonight. So that's why I was like, might as well pick some honorable mentions so we can we'll have plenty of time to go through them. So that's what we did.
It was good. Live albums are tough, man. It's tough. It really is, right? I'm sure. If I bet you, like, probably later tonight, I'll be like, oh yeah, I could.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things, like when you're put on the spot, you're like a deer in headlights, right? You can't. Your mind's racing, and you're like, and then like that's why I was like, a month ahead of time, know the topic, then you're working through stuff. You're like, oh yeah, that I forgot about that, or
yeah. No, it's good. It's good. Next time we do something like this, we should almost have like actual snippets of the song.
Yeah, that's. I don't. I think we could do 18 seconds, or we're probably allowed, right, without it being any kind of.
7 seconds, man. But I don't know how it is with live streams. I know live streams a little more touchy about it than it is with videos, because they'll just copyright claim it, which I don't care. I'm not making money off of these anyways, so.
Yeah. Or even in the comments, or even the show description, maybe just have like a list of the bands.
We're gonna. Joey does.
I do a playlist. for each episode.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So that will be uploaded after the couple days, maybe tomorrow.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. Usually I set it up before so you can put the link right away. I forgot to do it this time, but I usually do a Spotify playlist.
Sweet.
And what I do is I re-listen to the episode and I just pick up on, like, even tangents. We go off and talk about stuff. I'll pick up those things we talked about in tangents, and I'll throw bands that we talked about, even that weren't our picks. So I think the only episode I didn't do a playlist for was the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Because it's too hard, because it's not a band, right? It's all different bands. So I was like, how do you pick one song or a couple songs from each album to do a playlist? It was too complicated, so I was like, fuck it. But every other one, So I might send you ask you questions on DMs, like if I had to pick one or two songs from each album, like from your pick. And I'll throw those ones in as for the playlist. So before we go, let Adrian do a little plug, right, man? Like you got something big coming.
So what have you heard? So July It's funny when I say these things. I fucking feel like I'm like Don Rickles on like the Tonight Show, right? Yeah, I'm playing at the Indianapolis Coach and Pull Bar, on August 23rd, right? Kind of whatever. Oh fuck.
Your book's coming out.
So July 23rd. So Jacoby issue 1 through Scout Comics comes out, and then away we go. 5 issues after that, 5-issue run.
Yeah. Like we said, it's in the previews now, so you can get your pre-orders in now. And FOC, I'm not sure when the FOC is, but
it was. Fuck, I saw it too. I can't remember. It was in June something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
Usually, it's like what, 2-3 weeks ahead.
I'm pretty sure it was
release.
When is it, like first week of July, maybe, I think.
Yeah, it's usually like I think 2 weeks before release is the FOC usually.
Yeah, I got to. I'll post that. I'll check Previews World. I think they have it on there. So yeah.
So
you got time. Still time.
Jacoby's coming. Get your pre-orders in.
That's right.
So that Adrian doesn't.
Master Adrian.
Yeah, all this year working on it. He doesn't disappear on us for going to a deep depression and fucking never hear from him again. So come on, guys, let's make this comic sell well.
Yeah, it'll just be a fucking just like right. They'll have like one of those like Bigfoot kind of photos, sort of thing, all blurry and all that.
Last scene,
kind of blurry. You run across the road in like a red flannel. Yeah.
You know what? I was at. I was picking up my daughter from work. She works at Game City, and they got comics there. So I'm going through their $2 bin, and I'm just kind of going through it. And every time I go through a $1 bin or $2 bin, I'm like, what happened to this fucker? Right? You just kind of like go to these books. I'm like, fuck, I wonder what this guy's doing. Right? It's like eventually I'm gonna be that fucker. Right? I'll be like, in the woods, crying over poor sales or something. Or drop between issue 1 and 2 or something. Or
yeah.
I don't know. It's so funny how humble or how you quickly realize that you're a nobody and just be glad you finished a project and that's it. So
and you're a published creator, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the most gangster part about it, man. And congratulations. It's a damn fine book, like we talked about.
Yeah, I watched, guys. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. So just check your bank accounts.
It goes some great places, and it's going to be a book you're going to want to check out, like especially if you want to look at something that's completely different in the kind of super villain-esque sphere of things. Like,
yeah, it's
really
going to be
super villains. I don't know how to describe them, but that's the closest thing I could think of them as.
To be honest, I didn't really want anybody to be like a traditional superhero or super villain. I just wanted guys that dressed up.
Okay.
So I didn't really play up anything like that. Like so I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Either you're gonna like it or you're gonna hate it. So,
I could totally see James Gunn taking this comic and making a movie out of it.
I'm just sad that John Waters passed, man. I'd have loved to see him.
That'd make for a fucking interesting one. Yeah,
because when I'm reading it, like I'm just thinking, like, dude, if John Waters was like really inspired by Frank Miller, like he would have made Jacoby, like.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know. I just need to get on shelves, and then I need someone just to kind of like pick it up one day, and then they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna tell so and so," and then so and so will tell so and so, and then maybe it'll like wind up in someone's like inbox, and I don't know, man. Whatever. I'm just like I'm excited to be almost done, and then I just want to move right away to the new book. Right? I want to jump into that right away, and then just go right. So, yeah.
That's a good ethic, man. Can't wait to see what you do next because I'll talk to you more off air, but like hell yeah.
And coming up on Tuesday for our next episode, we had to reschedule.
Don't jinx it.
What do you mean? It's Tuesday.
You might not show up.
It's the next episode. We have to tell people.
Yeah, I know.
So we had to. Nick Patero will be on Tuesday. He was supposed to be on last Tuesday, but had to reschedule, so he'll be on this coming Tuesday.
Is that Axe Welder John?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, guys! Like, where the fuck was I for this Kickstarter or whatever this was?
It was on Zoop.
Jesus! So you guys are showing me like I was watching the episode, and it's like the
Nice.
images from this book are just like from
Yeah,
another
it's
fucking planet. You know,
fantastic. It's
I was kind of
fantastic.
laughing, right? I was
And I had
laughing
to
because
pick ones that wouldn't spoil anything. There are so much better panels than the ones I showed.
it was funny when I was watching. I was watching the episode, and you guys, gave me a nice review. It was really cool. And then it's like when you guys are doing Axel or John, there were moments where I thought Joe's fucking crying. he's
It's
fucking
good.
weeping, right?
It's
I didn't
fucking
get a
good.
fucking cheer for mine, right? And all of a sudden Joe's bringing out for this. I mean, it's good and all that, but fuck, I need someone to cry for me too. But anyway, it's like the I checked his Instagram too, and just some of the kind of like the cinematic type shots of like.
Mm-hmm.
Like the slashing of the whatever the people in the sky and just it's just an enormous book. It's just an enormous, like each panel is enormous. Like that's
a lot of big, a lot of like Johnny was saying, like 3-panel pages. Yeah. So anyway, Tuesday we'll have Nick on. So yeah,
I'm looking
Tuesday.
forward to it.
Should be
Don't cry.
Yeah.
Don't fucking cry.
Yeah.
Hold it together, buddy.
Yeah.
I saw that.
It's good. It's good. Yeah, it's a fun book. It's really fun. Like,
yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, hopefully we'll see you all Tuesday. Thanks for joining us for this episode. And yeah, like thanks to Adrian for bringing it home with us, man. He's always
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Have a good weekend, everybody.